The black SUVs didn't stop for the red light. They stopped for her. Amara fell to her knees, clutching an empty bowl. The old man she'd been feeding sat beside her, staring at nothing. 10 seconds ago, she was just a Zobo seller trying to close her stall. Now, armed men in expensive suits surrounded them both. "Please," she whispered. "He's done nothing wrong." The tallest guard ignored her completely. He walked past her like she didn't exist and stopped in front of the homeless man covered in rags. Then he did something that made Amara's blood freeze. He bowed. "Sir," the guard said, his voice shaking, "we've been searching for you for 6 months." The old man looked up with empty eyes, not knowing he owned half the buildings they could see from where they sat. But to understand how a king became invisible, you need to know what happened the night he disappeared. Welcome to the story Griot. Before we dive deeper, tell me where you're watching from. United States, England, Germany, or somewhere in Africa like Nigeria or South Africa. Drop it in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this story. It helps the algorithm recommend more powerful stories like this to you. The heat that afternoon could kill a strong man. Amara knew this because she'd seen it happen before. 3 years ago, a taxi driver collapsed right where her Zobo stall now stood. Nobody stopped to help. They just walked around his body like he was a piece of trash. She learned something that day. In Lagos, if you fall, you better get up fast, because nobody's coming to save you. "Mama, we sold 12 cups today," her son Chiki said, counting the wrinkled Naira notes. He was 9 years old but counted money like a banker. Amara smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. 12 cups meant they could eat tonight. Barely. That's when she heard the sound. A heavy thud like a sack of rice hitting concrete. She looked up and saw him. An old man, maybe 60, lying face down near the road. His clothes were so dirty she couldn't tell what color they used to be. His hair was matted with dust and something darker. People walked past him. Some laughed. One woman pulled her child closer like poverty was contagious. "Mama, is he dead?" Chiki whispered. Amara wanted to say yes, wanted to look away like everyone else. She had her own problems, her own son to feed. But then the man's hand moved, just slightly. His fingers scraped against the hot pavement, searching for something that wasn't there. She remembered the taxi driver, how his eyes had stayed open, staring at nothing, while 100 people pretended not to see. "Stay here," she told Chiki. She grabbed her last bottle of Zobo, the one she'd saved for a customer who might actually pay full price, and walked over to the man. Up close, she could see his lips were cracked and bleeding. His breathing was shallow, desperate. "Sir," she said softly, kneeling beside him. "Sir, can you hear me?" The man's eyes opened. For just a second, they were sharp, intelligent, like he was about to say something important. Then the sharpness faded, replaced by confusion and fear. "Water," he whispered. Amara looked back at her stall, at Chiki, at the 12 cups of money that had to feed them both. Then she opened the Zobo and pressed it to the stranger's lips. She didn't know she'd just saved the richest man in West Africa. The old man didn't leave. 3 days passed, and he stayed near Amara's stall like a lost dog who'd finally found shelter. She gave him shade under her umbrella. She shared her lunch when customers were few. People warned her. "That madman will bring you trouble," the pepper seller said. "He'll steal from you when you're not looking," the cobbler added. But Amara had learned something about trouble. It didn't always come from the people everyone feared. Sometimes it came from the people everyone trusted. Like her husband Emeka. He'd left her 2 years ago chasing a business opportunity in Port Harcourt. A rich man's daughter, he'd said, a chance to escape poverty forever. The rich man's daughter turned out to be a scam. The business opportunity was a lie. Emeka disappeared into shame, too proud to come back, too broken to move forward. Now it was just Amara and Chiki against the world. "Mama, the old man is staring at the sky again," Cheek said one evening. Amara looked over. The old man sat cross-legged on the pavement, his eyes fixed on nothing, his lips moving without sound. "Maybe he's praying," she said. "Or maybe he's remembering," Chiki replied. "Smart boy, too smart for 9 years old." Chiki started spending his evenings with the old man. He'd draw letters in the dirt with a stick, teaching him the alphabet like he was a child. "Look, sir, this is A. Can you say A?" The old man would stare at the letter for a long time, his forehead wrinkling with effort. Then he'd whisper, "A." Cheeky cheered like his student had just solved an impossible equation. One evening, Amara watched them together and noticed something strange. The old man's hands. They were rough from weeks on the street, yes. But underneath the dirt, his palms were soft. No calluses, no scars from labor. These weren't the hands of a beggar. These were the hands of someone who'd never worked a hard day in his life. She knelt beside him. "Sir, what's your name?" The old man looked at her with those confused, empty eyes. I don't..." His voice cracked. "I can't remember." Amara's heart sank. She'd seen this before. Men who drank too much. Men who'd been beaten too hard. Men whose minds had shattered under pressure. But something felt different about this one. Something felt wrong. It happened on a Tuesday evening just before sunset. Amara was cleaning her bottles when she heard the sound. A low, expensive purr that didn't belong in their neighborhood. A black Mercedes with tinted windows rolled past, slow and deliberate. The old man's head snapped up. His entire body went rigid. His breathing turned sharp and fast. His hands started shaking so violently that Cheeky stepped back in fear. Sir, what's wrong?" The old man stood up suddenly, his eyes wide with terror. He stared at the Mercedes until it disappeared around the corner. Then he collapsed to his knees and started scratching numbers in the dirt. Not random marks, actual numbers. 4728936110. Amara watched, frozen. The old man scratched the numbers again and again and again, like his life depended on remembering them. "Mama, what's he doing?" Cheeky whispered. "I don't know." But that was a lie. She knew exactly what those numbers looked like. Her husband, Emeka, used to work at a bank before his big dreams destroyed him. She'd seen him write account numbers 1,000 times. These looked the same. Too precise, too specific. The old man finally stopped. He looked at his dirty fingers like he didn't recognize them. Then the blankness returned to his eyes and he sat back down as if nothing had happened. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the soft hands, the numbers, the way the old man reacted to that expensive car. She'd heard stories, whispers in the market about powerful men who crossed the wrong people, men who disappeared, men who were found wandering the streets with empty eyes, not knowing their own names. Black magic, people called it. Memory theft, a punishment worse than death. The next morning, she asked the cobbler, if someone wanted to erase a person's mind, how would they do it? The cobbler stopped working. He looked at her with serious eyes. "Why are you asking?" "Just curious." He leaned closer. "There are men in this city with dark power. They can take everything from you. Your memory, your identity, your soul. They leave you alive but make you forget you ever lived." Amara felt cold despite the heat. "How do you break it?" The cobbler shook his head. "You don't. Only the person who cast it can reverse it. Or the victim remembers something powerful enough to shatter the spell." The trouble came on a Friday. His name was Bio, and everyone in the neighborhood paid him. Not because they wanted to, because they had to. He walked with 3 other men, all of them wearing fake gold chains and real knives. "Amara," Bio said, his smile showing too many teeth. "You're 2 weeks late." She knew. She'd been avoiding him, hoping he'd forget. Foolish hope. "I'll pay next week. Business has been slow." "That's what you said last time." Bio's eyes drifted to Chike, then to the old man. "Maybe you're spending money on the wrong people." Amara stepped in front of the old man. "He has nothing to do with this." "Then maybe he should leave. Or maybe I'll help him leave." Bio reached for the old man's shoulder. The old man looked up. And everything changed. His eyes weren't confused anymore. They were sharp, cold, filled with something that made Bio's hand freeze in midair. The old man stood slowly. He didn't say anything, didn't make threats, just looked at Bio with the kind of stare that comes from years of power. The kind of stare that says, "I've destroyed better men than you before breakfast." Bio stumbled backward. His friends grabbed their knives but didn't move. They felt it too. That invisible weight, that kingly aura that couldn't be faked. Who are you?" Bio whispered. The old man blinked. The sharpness faded. The confusion returned. I don't know, he said softly. But the damage was done. Bayo and his men backed away, almost tripping over each other. This isn't over, Bayo said, but his voice shook. They left quickly, looking back multiple times like they'd just seen a ghost. Amara stood there, her heart pounding. Cheeky grabbed her hand. Mama, what just happened? She didn't know how to answer. The old man had sat back down, staring at his hands again, lost in his broken mind. But for those few seconds, he wasn't a beggar. He was something else entirely. That night, Amara made a decision. She needed to find out who this man really was, because whoever he used to be, someone powerful, wanted him forgotten. And people like Bayo, they were just the beginning. The real danger was still coming. She could feel it in the air, heavy and dark, like a storm about to break. 30 kilometers away, in a glass tower that touched the clouds, a phone rang. The man who answered it wore a suit that cost more than Amara made in a year. His office had a view of the entire city. His name was Victor Okonkwo, and he owned half of what he could see. The other half used to belong to someone else. Sir, we have a problem, the voice on the phone said. Victor's jaw tightened. Speak. There are rumors. In Ajagunle, a homeless man who carries himself wrong. Street boys are talking. They say he has the bearing of a king. Victor's hand gripped the phone so hard it almost cracked. Impossible. The medicine man promised me 6 months of complete erasure. It's only been 4. The spell is weakening, sir. We need to act now. Victor stood and walked to the window. Down below, people moved like ants. Small, insignificant, easy to crush. Just like his business partner had been. Easy to crush. 4 months ago, Chief Adeyemi had been the most powerful man in West Africa. Billions in assets, political connections, respect that money couldn't buy. Victor had been his second, always second, never first. So Victor went to see a medicine man in Badagry, a man who practiced the old ways, the dark ways. I want him gone, Victor had said, but not dead. Death creates investigations. I want him erased. The medicine man smiled. I can make him forget everything, his name, his power, his entire life. He will wander the streets like a madman, and no one will believe him even if he remembers. It had cost Victor 3 million naira and a promise written in blood. But it had worked. Chief Adeyemi disappeared after a business dinner. His security team found nothing. The police found nothing. After 2 months, he was declared missing. After 4 months, his assets were transferred to Victor as the next in command. Perfect, clean, untraceable. Except now the spell was breaking. Send the extraction team, Victor said coldly. Find him, bring him to the warehouse. We'll finish this properly. And if people have seen him, if they ask questions? Victor's reflection stared back at him from the window. Empty eyes, no mercy. Then make sure there's no one left to ask. He hung up the phone and pressed a button on his desk. Within minutes, 3 black SUVs left the underground garage, heading toward Ajagunle. The hunt had begun. Cheeky found the ring on a Wednesday morning. He was helping the old man wash his hands at the public tap when something gold caught the sunlight. Mama, Mama, look! It was a signet ring, hidden deep in the folds of the old man's rags. Heavy, real gold, with initials carved into it, C.A. Chief Adeyemi. Amara's blood turned to ice. She'd seen that name before, on newspapers, on billboards, on the side of buildings throughout Lagos. Chief Adeyemi, oil tycoon, philanthropist, missing for 4 months. Presumed dead, but he wasn't dead. He was sitting at her Zobo stall teaching her son the alphabet, not knowing he was one of the richest men in Africa. Cheek, put that back now. But Mama, now! Her hands shook as she helped the old man, no, the chief, hide the ring again. If the wrong people saw it, they'd all be dead by morning. She'd been so stupid, feeding him, protecting him, drawing attention to him. Whoever did this to him would be watching, waiting, and now she'd made herself a target. We need to hide him, she whispered to Cheek that night. Where, Mama? Our room is barely big enough for us. She looked at their tiny shack. 1 room, zinc roof. walls so thin you could hear the neighbors breathing. But it was all she had. "We'll make space." They brought the chief inside after dark. He sat in the corner, quiet and confused, while Amara tried to think of a plan. That's when she heard the knock. It was Mr. Taiwo from next door, smiling too wide, eyes too eager. "Amara, I noticed your new friend, the one you've been feeding." Her stomach dropped. "What about him?" "There's a reward, you know, for information about missing persons. Very generous reward." "He's not missing, he's just—" "I already made the call." Mr. Taiwo's smile grew wider. "They said they'd send someone tonight to verify. If it's really him, we split the money, 50-50. Neighbors should help neighbors, yes?" Amara wanted to scream, wanted to cry, wanted to slam the door in his greedy face, but she just nodded. "Yes, neighbors should help neighbors." Mr. Taiwo left whistling. Chiki looked at his mother with frightened eyes. "Mama, what do we do?" Amara pulled her son close and looked at the chief, who sat peacefully unaware that death was coming for all of them. "We pray," she whispered. "We pray for a miracle." The SUVs arrived at dawn. Not one. Not two. 5 of them. Black and gleaming, blocking both ends of the narrow street. Amara heard them before she saw them, that expensive purr, the same sound that made the chief scratch numbers in the dirt. "Cheek, stay inside. No matter what happens, stay inside." She stepped out of her shack and saw them. Men in dark suits, sunglasses, earpieces, the kind of men who made problems disappear. The chief stood beside her, staring at the cars with empty eyes. The tallest guard stepped forward. He looked at Amara like she was dirt on his shoe. "Move aside." "No." Her voice shook, but she didn't move. "We're here for him. This doesn't concern you. You're going to kill him." The guard's expression didn't change. "Move aside, or we move you." Amara spread her arms wide, placing herself between the chief and the men with guns. "You'll have to go through me first." She expected them to laugh, expected them to push her aside like the trash everyone thought she was. But something strange happened. Another guard approached, older, gray hair. He pushed past the tall one and walked straight to the chief. He stared at the chief's face for a long moment. Then he saw the ring, the one Chica had found, peeking out from the chief's rags. The guard's face went white. "Dear God," he whispered, "it's really him?" Then he did something that made the entire street go silent. He dropped to one knee. "Chief Adeyemi," the guard said, his voice breaking. "Sir, we've been searching for you for 6 months." The other guards looked confused. The tall one stepped forward. "What are you doing? We have orders." "Orders from who?" the older guard snapped. "From Victor? The man who did this to him?" Tension crackled in the air. Hands moved toward weapons. The chief just stood there, looking at the kneeling guard with confused, empty eyes. I don't understand," the chief whispered. "Who am I?" The older guard's eyes filled with tears. "You're the man who gave me a job when no one else would. You paid for my daughter's surgery. You're the best man I've ever known." He looked at Amara. "And this woman saved your life?" Amara's legs gave out. She fell to her knees, finally understanding the weight of what she'd done. She hadn't just fed a beggar. She'd protected a king. The older guard's name was Matthias. He'd been Chief Adeyemi's head of security for 15 years. "Victor sent us to kill you," Matthias said quietly. "But half the team is loyal to you, sir. We've been searching for you the right way, to save you." The chief stared at him, his mind still trapped behind invisible walls. I can't. "It's okay, sir. We'll get you help, real help." They took the chief to a private hospital. Amara and Chaiki went too because the chief wouldn't let go of her hand. For 3 days, doctors worked to reverse the damage. They said the black magic had created a mental block, but it was weakening. Something was breaking through. On the 4th day, Chiki visited with his school book. "Sir, can I read to you?" The chief nodded weakly. Chiki opened the book to a poem, his teacher's favorite. He read slowly, carefully. "When you fall, the world forgets your name. But one hand reaching down can break the chain." The chief's eyes snapped open. "That poem," he whispered. "My daughter. She read that at her graduation. Tears streamed down his face. Adana. My daughter's name is Adana. The walls shattered. Everything came flooding back. His name, his life, his empire, and the night Victor drugged his drink and took him to the medicine man in Badagry. Within hours, Victor was arrested. The evidence was overwhelming once the chief could testify. Fraud, conspiracy, attempted murder through spiritual means. Victor screamed in court that it was impossible, that the spell should have lasted 6 months. But the medicine man had been wrong about one thing. He said the spell could only be broken by powerful magic or a memory strong enough to shatter it. He never considered that kindness could be the most powerful magic of all. 3 months later, Amara stood in front of a school. Not just any school. The prestigious one she'd walked past 1,000 times, dreaming of a life she thought she'd never have. Chief Adeyemi had bought it, renovated it, and made her the headmistress. You gave me back my life, he'd said. Let me give you yours. Chiki was enrolled in the best school in Lagos. Full scholarship. Chief Adeyemi personally mentoring him. Amara touched the bronze plaque beside the entrance. Adeyemi Memorial School, where kindness begins. She thought about the taxi driver, the one who died while everyone walked past. She'd stopped walking, and everything changed. The chief never forgot what the streets taught him, that a person's value isn't in their bank account. It's in their heart when no one's watching. Amara learned something too, that helping someone costs you something, always. But sometimes, what you give away comes back greater than you could ever imagine. Some people are placed in your path not by accident, but by destiny. And the smallest act of kindness can shake kingdoms. Friend, thank you for staying with me to the very end. If you believe that strength isn't about how much you have, but how much you give when you have nothing, then please tap subscribe and join our community at The Story Griot. You won't want to miss the stories we share next. I've picked out another powerful story just for you, and you should see it on the screen now. A story about a woman